Alright folks, today I thought I would discuss some video games. It's been a little bit of a while since we've discussed some video games. We're talking about Stray, we're talking about Halo Infinite, I'm going to talk about Gears 5 a little bit, I'm going to talk about some other games as well that I've been enjoying. It's a strange one. Maybe it's because I've got a slightly older audience, maybe it's because I've got a slightly different audience than most of the YouTube community. It seems to be that I get a lot of people telling me that they're bored of games. They're not really interested. Games aren't what they used to be. And it is very, very easy to just go ahead and hate on a game because it gets traction. It's easier to hate on a game because if you dislike a game, you're probably going to go and search for other people that dislike that game. And if you love the game, you probably sat playing it and you're enjoying it, and therefore you're probably not consuming as much media. So it's why the angry side of social media always seems louder than the good side, even though there is a lot of good. Now, when it comes to Stray, if you don't know what Stray is, it's basically like a PlayStation 5 and PC game. You play as a cat, you have to solve a story. I won't tell you what the story's about because it's a bit of a spoiler. It's about 6 hours long, 4 to 8 hours depending on the pace that you play through. You play as your feline friend, and you can leap around the world, free roam, follow the story, etc. That's kind of how it was sold. It looks very, if this makes sense, cat meets cyberpunk. It's very space age, that kind of vibe, right? RTX lighting, all of that stuff going on, the shadows, bright neons. It looks really good. And I think this just shows like every single game that's been going on, man. Every game that comes out these days, it is just pure. It plays on one thing, and it's like they gimmick that thing into the ground. This gimmick was like, hey, you're a cat, and I know the internet likes cats. Let's build a game around the fact you can play a cat. Most people are just going to play it for a few hours, enjoy the time, and think, yeah, that was a good game. That's fantastic, right? If you enjoy the game, you enjoy the game. But when you really break it down, it's such a mediocre experience. Now, when a cat jumps, they kind of coil, kind of spring. Sometimes they'll do a long jump, a short jump, all of this stuff. In these modern games, there's no feeling. Like, some people might say when they play the Stray game that they did feel like a cat. You don't. After a while, the movement just feels like you're moving a block around the world, and every single interactable object lets you know it's interactable. Hey, push X. Hey, push square. Hey, push triangle. You don't really figure anything out on your own, and you go around and you just push the X button and it jumps perfectly for you. You can't fail a jump, you can't miss a jump. Story's very, very linear, and like a clip like this, the game sort of tells you what to do. You don't even walk into the room and think, well, there's a box balanced above somebody's head. Maybe I should press that box. Maybe I should knock that box. No, it's like so over the top. There's no difficulty modes, it's just one difficulty, which I'm not against, by the way. A unified experience like a Dark Souls, no difficulty modes, I'm not against. But it's so handholdy, it's unbelievable. And it reminds me of the Gollum game that's just come out, if you remember, if anyone knows about that. The Gollum, it's like Lord of the Rings. And it feels like someone just said, yeah, we could push Lord of the Rings and people like Gollum, we could make a game about that. And it's like they forget about it has to be fun, and you're like this Gollum creature crawling around, and what can you do as Gollum? It's got like red lines along the walls. Hey, you can climb on this wall. Hey, you can't climb on this wall. You can go here, you can't go there. And it's very much the same with the cat game. Hey, jump on here. Hey, push this button. Now, it's not like you're getting a rhythm, like you're running through the streets. You hold X, you do a long jump, you tap X, and you jump in from place to place, and you feel like a bouncy cat flying around the map. No, it's just press X, close your eyes, look the wrong way, turn upside down. As long as if the interactable things popped up, no matter what you're doing, it'll land the jump. The story's very bland. You can't really go wrong. You can't get lost. It's a 5-hour experience of a railroad of going in one direction. And it's just got a load of hype behind it because it has a load of marketing. The internet loves cats, and it's generally just, it's an alright game. I'm not saying it's the worst game of all time. I'm not saying it's the best game of all time. It's just like a few hours of experience, but the hype it's got it's unneeded and unwanted in my eyes. I don't know if anyone's played the game and they feel like this, but it's quite a boring game. It's a very genuinely boring game. The same way the Golem game will be boring, and the same way the pirate ship game I reviewed is going to be boring. It's so playing it safe. They don't do anything because if they make the jumps a little bit difficult, people might get frustrated. And I think a lot of games are like this. I mean, we live in an era where at 12 o'clock last night, I got a Gmail ping on my phone. Open it up. Oh, it's Halo Infinite. What's this? And it said, I'll give you the exact line so I don't misquote. Let me pull it up here. This kind of sums up where we are right now in the gaming landscape, doesn't it? Let me find my tweet. Follow me on Twitter if you don't. Here's what it said. Blah, blah, blah. I got an email, pinged it, opened it, and it said, hey, celebrate the campaign network co-op for Halo Infinite. It's on its way, and you'll soon be able to take to the fight with a friend. It's almost 2023, and we're getting emails and social pings and trending hashtags that you can play co-op in a game that's renowned for co-op. It's just ridiculous. Yes, it's very easy to hate on games, but we really are in an era where no game is even finished. Modern Warfare 2 is coming out. That's going to be carbon copy paste. It's going to probably have weird things where you've got like ranking systems, and then you've got skill-based matchmaking in regular games anyway, so what's the point of playing ranked? And you know, it is playing it just beyond safe. It's just literally beyond safe. All the games that I come across these days are so bland. It's why when I do a review and I enjoy a game, I do like to share it, like the vampire game, because you're like, wow, someone's actually tried something a bit different here. So the game I've been playing recently is StarCraft. It's an old game. It's not really supported anymore by Blizzard. Kind of like Gears 5, that like esports has been cut off. One moment. And you know, it's basically they've cut the esports off, and they've stopped, you know, a group of players playing something that they enjoyed. Like, I don't like the esports. The esports is pretty crap. You know, the reason it's bad isn't because the game's particularly bad or like the actual esports itself. It's more like the people that play the esports. There's no sort of barrier to entry, so the level of play is quite low in comparison to other scenes. Like if you take your semi-decent League of Legends player and compare him to a pro, there's a massive gap, the same way there is in an RTS game. If you take a pretty decent online player from Gears 5 and put him up against a pro, there's really not that much difference, to be honest, apart from the fact they're in a team communicating. So that's pretty bad. And yeah, so to move on from that point, you know, Gears is kind of finished, unfortunately. But I've been playing StarCraft, and Blizzard aren't supporting that game. But that game is really skillful. It has a pretty good matchmaking system, good rating. It's difficult. Every game's different because it's a strategy game, right? So people are doing different things. So that's pretty much what I've been playing is StarCraft. I've been playing Terran, trying to learn Terran, and there's tons of stuff. And even for the game, I think it's like 12, 13 years old now, it still produces moments because when they made that game, they weren't trying to hold hands, and they weren't trying to think about how can we make this as, how would you call it, like as noob friendly as humanly possible. So there's actually some depth to that game. It's probably why Gears 5 doesn't take off, because even though people like to bash Gears 5, it's actually a pretty difficult game. And again, I think somebody, his name was Hiki. He came in my stream fairly recently and he said, give me a quote on Gears 5. And I said, Gears 5 is the best Gears game available. And that's probably the issue. And I still think that people might say, oh, you hate Gears 5. Gears 5 is the best Gears of War game you can play today. In terms of, it works, multiple, it's on PC, it's on Xbox 360, you can play it on other versions of your Xbox. It works, there's some kind of support for the game, even though there's not much, but in comparison to other titles there is. There's a few updates here and there. So it is probably the best game you can play. The shotgun doesn't sponge. You can play a variety of playstyles like rifles or shotguns. But that's probably the problem, isn't it? That a pretty average game is the best game for the series currently. So I guess I'm just making this video just to say, yeah, the Stray game, the Golem game, all these games that are out, they're just okay. They're just okay. They're not grabbing me. So I'm just sticking to my games that I enjoy playing. StarCraft, League, and maybe the odd PUBG game from time to time off stream. There's not much out there, is there? Gaming wise. That's why I think I'm surprised more people don't try the more unique games like the Sea of Thieves. I know it's pretty popular, but when I speak to people that play multiplayer and stuff, that they basically play FIFA and COD and then get mad that FIFA and COD are bad, and it's like you've got to go out of your way to find other games. That's probably the one benefit of being kicked off Gears 5 is I had to go and find some other games, and I've come back to Gears 5 to StarCraft after Gears 5 and I'm enjoying it. If I look at Steam and I look at the games that are on Steam, you know, there's really not much. If I take a look now, you've got like the Multiverse game. I think that's going to be pretty popular. You've got, you've got Stray, but then mostly it's old games. Terraria, Dead by Daylight, Halo Wars. You can pre-purchase Spider-Man. I mean, I'm sure PlayStation users are probably upset that there's some exclusives coming to PC, but whatever. And when I flick through these games, the fact I'm flicking through the games and I'm seeing Call of Duty Black Ops 3, an old Half-Life game, The Elder Scrolls Skyrim now in VR, Battlefield 1. If I look at new releases, we've got Formula 1 2022, which is meant to be pretty good. There's just not much. There's really not much, and that's why it's so baffling that these like mega franchises, your Battlefields, your Halos, and all of this are just kaput. Basically, you can have an alive game, but it can also be dead. Does that make sense? And you can also have a game with a small player base that's more alive than one with a larger player base. Does that make any sense? I don't feel like people quite understand this. So, for example, you probably only need, I think Chris Wilson used to say this, 10,000 active Steam 10,000 active Steam users to kind of become a viable franchise. So if Gears 5 has 10,000 people, some people might say it's dead because it should have a lot more, but it's probably enough to survive, which is why they keep it ticking over. There are other games like Dota, which might have 450,000 players, but over the course of its lifetime is slowly bleeding players. From 2015, it used to have 1 million, and ever since then, each month it's kind of been going down to around about an average of 600k. Now, that's not saying it's a dead game, but it's not it sounds weird to say it's not an alive game because it very much is, but, there's different levels to it, whereas a game with 10k players, let's pick a random one, for example, off a page, who knows, right? Well, let's find a good example. No Man's Sky. That might only have 9k players, but it's been growing in popularity, so that's kind of growing. Arma 3 has 10k. Arma 3 has a really steady player base. It's had 10 to 30k for its entire lifespan since like 2012. But it's not really an alive game, but it's not a dead game. I think people get that confused. As long as if there's enough players for you to find matches each time you play, it's okay to play that game, right? I mean, it's okay to play any game, but I think a lot of people think, hey, if this game isn't trending, if it's not the new thing that's out, if it's not like the latest thing, I can't play it. I can't play it. It's dead. It's got no traction. StarCraft, I don't know how many players it's got, but every night, no matter what time I queue at, I find a game. So for me, that's enough. So if you enjoy a random game and there are games every single evening, who cares? And that's why you've got to get out there. You've got to play different games, because some of these new ones just aren't very good. I mean, Battlefield 2044, right? It had no scoreboard. It was like no voice comm. Some of the maps were broken. I mean, look at it, man. Battlefield 5, like, listen to this. Battlefield 1 has double the players of 2042, and Battlefield 5 has triple the player base. It's not a Battlefield game. It might have the name Battlefield, but it's not a Battlefield game. That's an example of a dead game. It might have 5k players, but that's actually dead, right? So there's different levels to it. It's crazy. There's just not that many games out there at the moment. So I don't know what this video is. I just thought I'd have a rag at the Stray game because it's bloody awful. I'm sorry, it is. It's not a good game, and that's kind of where we are. If you want to be a golem and you want to walk around and the developer wants to say, hey, press X to jump. Oh, good, you've done that jump. Now crawl around like Gollum. Or you want to shoot a ship. There are games out there, but truly like, how would you describe it? Truly like innovative games that change the landscape, like a Battle Royale that came out, or like a Battlefield that enhanced how much stuff could be going on at screen at once, or like a Fortnite with their crossplay. Truly innovative games aren't really there. It's all about money, 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 money. So just go out there, try random games, and find a game you enjoy and play it regardless of player base. Even if that's Gears 5 or Gears 2, if you're enjoying yourself, that's really all that matters. So yeah, don't get lost out there trying to play crap games because you think they're popular. Just enjoy yourself, man.